All right, so we're going to talk about so many things today, about the new workflows with tops and zones. We're going to talk about the attributes. We're going to talk about different heat maps and all that kind of stuff. So let me just mapping and sticks and correlation panel, tons of new things in 24.2. So let's jump into the map view first. We're going to work in map view, and I'll show you all exciting things we have right now. So we're now currently in the map view. We're displaying about like 150 wells or so. I want to select all of them, and I want to actually change the colors of all these wells. And not just colors, I want to use some kind of attributes to show the, not just the some solid colors like black, purple, whatever, but some interesting attributes. In order to do that, I need to select all my wells and go to well format. And now we have new feature here to display some interesting attributes for my wells. You can display logs as the color of your trajectory, actually. But one of the cool features, I think, is to display your wells in TVD subsea domain. Let me change the scale to -10,000 to -12,000. Make it look like this. So now it looks like a heat map showing the TVD subsea of all my wells. And yeah, you can see which some of them are deeper, some of them are shallower. So it's very easy way to do and display wells right now in the map view and see where we're drilled. Not only we can display where we drilled in terms of TVD subsea, but also in terms of what formation we drilled. So for example, I can switch from TVD subsea to horizons from my interpretation. For example, I can switch to Lower Eagleford here. Boom. So actually I can see that almost all my wells were drilled in Lower Eagleford. They're blue now. If I switch to Upper Eagleford, actually I will see a couple of wells. Yeah, a couple of wells were drilled in Upper Eagleford. So here, slightly, not the entire trajectory was there. So we crossed the what's there? It's Upper Eagleford a couple of times for these wells, and these wells were drilled in Upper Eagleford. So I can switch between different horizons and see which wells crossed or drilled inside the formation.
Kayla now brought up a good point in the chat that we can color the wells by TVD subsea. Would be helpful for stacked wells on stacked pads where you have multiple different targets. You'd be very easily able to see which well is targeting which formation when you color them all by TVD subsea.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. So yeah. So you can stack here. Well, stacked in terms of like on top of each other. Yeah, you'll see some overlap. But you can always,
if like two of those wells are targeting a deeper formation, they'd be much like a different color than the ones that were targeting the shallower formation.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Yeah. All right. Also, one small button, but I think it's kind of useful here. Not here, like in general. It's the new button to switch between light and dark mode. It's here. So I can just click on this small button, sun, and just switch back to the light mode. Super easy. I'll keep it in the light mode. I think it's a bit better for the presentation purposes in Teams. All right, so I have a couple of wells displayed. And now what I can do is to use our new slice window to create a cross-section along all the wells. Across all the wells. So I can go ahead and create my new slice line here in our window tab. Previously it was view tab. We were enabled to the window tab because of a couple of reasons. I will show a bit later why it's window now. So for the slice line, we don't have any slice line in the project currently, but we can create a new one here right now. So I guess just click on this plus button and, well, just go ahead. I'll just create this slice line from north to south, something like that. Double click, and here's how my slice view 1 is enabled. So let me just actually display all my wells all together. It's going to be kind of a mess, right? Let me just move it to the right side of my StarSteer so I can fix the mess in a couple of seconds. So by default, when I create the slice view, this slice line in my map view, it will basically catch all the projections from all my wells to this line. It's not like kind of not always useful thing, so I can limit it to some projection distance. So being in a slice view 1, I can go into the view tab. Actually, I can stay here in the view tab, in the window tab, and turn on the projection distance. Let's say 500 feet. Okay, let me just zoom in a bit. In the map view, you can see if I change my projection to, let's say, 700, I will see this gray area will change size. Something like that. And now all my wells, which I cross and which falls into the gray area of projection distance, will be displayed in my slice view. Of course, in the map view, nothing stops me from editing this one. So I can just click on this pencil. I can move it here, add some new points here, move it here. I can just modify it very interactively in my map view and see how it affects my slice view on the right side. What I can do now is display a couple of grids in the slice view. I'll just turn on like regional grids here. So okay. And cool thing is about the slice view, it's kind of new thing, but it was actually implemented first in the gun barrel plot in the data manager. I can change the exaggeration vertical and horizontal by simply putting my mouse on the X axis or Y axis, horizontal or vertical axis, and just scroll my wheel up and down to change the only vertical exaggeration or horizontal exaggeration like that, to find the best way to display my wells in a slice view. And so yeah, we're seeing all the grids. So currently we can display grids and wells in the slice view, like the first iteration of implementing this kind of new window in StarSteer. We're going to add more and more data there in upcoming releases. So talking about the grids, let's actually I'll turn off the slice view for now. We won't actually need it later. So we're going to work with mapping only for now in the map view. Okay, let me just turn on the slice line, turn off this one. And actually, I will turn off my wells because we're going to work with mapping right now. So I just want to select all my wells real quick and hide that for now. All right, so in the StarSteer, of course, you can create many maps. And now we've implemented the first tool for the mapping. It's called Eraser. So now if I click on my map and I go into the grid format, you will see the new editing tools. It's actually one tool currently. It's called Eraser. So what I can do right now is to basically remove some peaks or troughs from my grid interactively. For example, I can just turn on the eraser. I can change the size of this area where I want to delete the data and just smooth out and just remove the troughs or peaks. So let's say I want the size of eraser to be like that. Okay. And now I go ahead and just let's find some area I want to fix without going into details of the input data, why it caused these changes. I can do it, of course, in StarSteer, but for now, I just want to edit the grid itself. So for example, I don't like this area. It's kind of weird ISO lines, right? Contour lines. So I just hold left button, my mouse, just draw like this. So this area, now it's like white area, will be removed. And now it will be then interpolated in between the data which was left. So for example, like this, I don't like this peak, for example. I can do it like that. So this is one of the first tool we implemented, like interactive tool for the mapping. It's called Eraser. This is what it does. Also, there's actually it's kind of small, but brings a lot of much easier way to create maps in StarSteer. And I'm talking about the mapping algorithm, like mapping interface itself. previously, when you wanted to create a map, let's say from interpretations, right? You needed to rename your interpretation folder to be the same across all your wells you want to use. You need to rename your horizon to be absolutely the same name across all the wells, which, I mean, it's possible. Group tree is kind of it's very useful for doing this kind of stuff. But now StarSteer gives you more flexibility in this regard. What I mean by that, StarSteer now allows you to use starred interpretation directly. So for example, I can go ahead, just a quick reminder, in your wells, you can open your interpretation and let's say, okay, my lower Eagle Ford is my top horizon, top target horizon. So I can just right click on my lower Eagle Ford, go ahead and just say top target horizon. And now in my group tree, all the horizons which are marked as top target horizons, they're here in the starred interpretation folder. So I can just grab it and put it here, which means the names of your interpretation folder might be different, slightly different, or your names of your top target horizon might be slightly different. Lower Eagle Ford 1, lower Eagle Ford final, or whatever. As long as they all have the start icon next to it, you can just use it directly in the mapping without need to go back and just change all the names to be absolutely the same across all the wells. So it's kind of useful thing just to make it easier life while creating different grids. Also, another thing, and many requests we got after we released the mapping first time, it's ignore before inclination. So in some cases, well, I would say in most of the cases, the landing part of the interpretation can be kind of messy. You might add some fake faults to match and to land the well in the interpretation, or add some crazy dips to match the gamma rays from your lateral wells and your type wells. I encourage you to use actually thickness change tool, but it's another topic. But anyway, if you have some wells which have quite weird beginning of the interpretation before some inclination, you can say, okay, for my mapping purposes, please ignore my interpretation before inclination 75, basically before the landing, all these weird dips, fake faults. Don't use it and use all the rest of the data along my lateral part of the well for the mapping. So you can use now this option here.
You see that question, Pavel? That's a good
Yeah,
question.
That's a very good question.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. 75 degrees later.
I've never seen a well that does that before. That seems like it'd be pretty extreme.
Extreme case. We can test. Yeah, we haven't tested yet. That's a very good question. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Drill through some faults.
That is true, yeah.
I mean, the 75 degrees is the inclination for your well, just to make sure, like it's not about your faults in the interpretation itself. It's inclination of the well, but 75 degrees. Okay, yeah, we can test it. Thank you for the question. Okay, and yeah, the last thing, the update regarding the maps and grids is, please take a look at this area here at the bottom of the StarSteer. So when I hover mouse over the grids, now displays the value from these grids at the bottom of the screen. So small thing, but very handful and handy thing for just analyzing data without going into like details, and just for your mouse and check the depth, or not only depth, maybe thickness. I'm going to show actually how to create isopack maps later in this demonstration. All right. Let's move on to sticks and what we have new things regarding sticks and well planning. I won't actually open the well planning mode itself. I will use a couple of new things in StarSteer. Let me hide and the map, and I will display my lease polygons. So for example, I have a couple of lease polygons in my project, and we have a couple of actually pretty cool Python scripts to do some interesting stuff. I want my Python script to look through all these lease polygons, find the most optimal direction of all my sticks, and generate sticks with minimum, maximum length, and place it inside these polygons. And now we can do it. So if you go into the Python tab and open the Python editor, in the sticks folder, you can find two very useful Python scripts: sticks for all leases and put sticks in folders. We're going to use both of them actually right now. So first of all, we're going to run the sticks for all leases to generate sticks inside these lease polygons. So I have these leases polygon here. I just drag and drop as the input. I ask Python to calculate the direction of my sticks, or I can define it like as a value, one value, or just calculate automatically, and define the sticks distributed in a fan shape, like an accordion tool, right? Remember, but automatic in automatic way. So also minimum distance, or minimum length, maximum length, buffer, and minimum spacing. I set these things up, and I can click run. And now this script created a lot of like 70, 80, 85, 90 sticks. It's going to be quite difficult to navigate between them. So that's why we have built-in put sticks into folders scripts, which will, well, put the sticks into folders automatically. Now I have my sticks into the inside the folders named by the leases. So if I just select all of them here and display, okay, now they're here. So the minimum distance is here, the maximum distance is somewhere here. We have it, direction is calculated automatically. So you can automate a couple of your workflows using the script. And not only that, that's the beginning of the new features we have for sticks. Let's say I want to analyze in detail the lease, what's the name? It's lease 4. Okay, lease 4, I'll open this one. I can select all my sticks all together in this folder, right click on there and click spreadsheet. And now I will see all the spreadsheets for all these sticks in one place. Of course, I can copy, I can paste, I can change it, I can edit all these things in one spreadsheet, big spreadsheet. So I can actually select all sticks and display them in one spreadsheet. It's gonna be a mess. So let's just stick to the 5 sticks for now. And I can edit it here. Not only that, yeah, it also calculates the length of sticks automatically as one of the new columns here in the spreadsheet. Let's go ahead actually and display the sticks on the cross section in the geosteering view. So I will display this, well, it's somewhere here in this lease polygon here. And I want to analyze, let's say, stick 28. I don't see it here right now because, well, I need to actually define the depth of my stick. So I'll just create surface hole location, and let's say I want to put my stick just below the lower Eagleford grid. It's this one. And I click apply Z. Okay, now I can actually see my stick on my geosteering view here. And now the cool thing is you can actually edit stick directly in the geosteering mode. Sorry, geosteering view. So you right click on the stick, edit stick, and now you can double click on the stick itself and add more points, add more waypoints. Let me open the spreadsheet so you can see how the waypoints are being added. So here, I can move it like this. Okay, something like that. Okay, and now we can always first copy this and send to your DDs or some report spreadsheet or whatever. So yeah, you can use it, the multi-point and sticks on the cross section. And the next step, one of the most anticipated feature of 24.2. Let me create a well from the stick. So I just right click on my stick and click
One thing I want to
well.
mention, Pavel, before you make the well,
Mhm.
might be a good time to mention that you can also slice the grids along that stick in the geostring view when you're planing the stick. Yeah.
Of course, it
Yep.
was planned a bit later.
Okay, never mind.
No.
Spoiling the fun.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So I just created the well, and here's the list for stick 28 well. I need to activate it, and now let me hide the stick itself. We have the target line, multi-point target line. So if I open the spreadsheet, now have origin point, target point, and many, well, 3, right? From my stick, 3 waypoints on my target line. Of course, I can go ahead and edit all the points in my target line, put however you want. I can just add more points as usual, double click to add more points, right click and delete to remove these points. So I can have like pretty complicated target lines here in my cross section. Not only that, if you open the spreadsheet for this target line, well, you can see, of course, everything about the target line, but also you can define DLS restriction for each waypoint individually. So let me do one thing. Is I need to go to the target line format. It's actually enabled. DLS restriction is enabled, so I can go ahead and let's say for the first waypoint, which is here in the beginning, the DLS will be let's say 10. You can immediately see the changes here on my cross section. By the way, let me just make it a bit bigger. Too many tracks. Okay. And for the rest of my target line, I want just to make DLS 5, 5, and 5, for example, or 4. Okay. So now you don't see the restriction applied to my well plan, or well plan I will create from this target line. And the reason for that, here is the logic how it works right now. The DLS restriction is applied only for the first waypoint, which was not used yet to create well plan. What do I mean by that? If I go ahead and click append, now my first DLS restriction, which was 10, was applied here, but later here, the next DLS restriction is applied, which was 5, right? So I can actually play here. Let's say, okay, maybe I'll just change it a bit. Okay, 5 applied here. I need to click append again. Now it's prolonged to the next waypoint. And again, now it's 5 DLS restriction is applied over here and so on. So I can just click append and so append. So append allows you to apply the DLS restrictions from the spreadsheet when you're creating the well plan from this multi-point target line. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. Okay. Yeah, as Kory mentioned, actually very good point, very good time to mention the slicing option. We're displaying here, as you can see, a couple of grids. And kind of, well, I'll be honest, kind of confusing thing is to understand along what we're displaying these grids. Are we displaying the grids along the VS? Or are we displaying the grids along the well plan? What if I have multiple well plans? Along which well plan we're looking at the grids right now? It was kind of confusing and it was very difficult to understand what is being displayed right now. Now it's super easy. And the way it works right now, if you go into the window tab, you will see slice along drop-down menu. So currently I'm slicing my grids, seismic, 3D grids, everything which can be sliced through. So we're along what exactly? So now we're slicing along well trajectory. I can switch to slicing along azimuth, no problem. But you can see right now clearly it's sliced along azimuth VS for everything displayed in in a cross section. So grids, seismic, or 3D grids. I can also display, I can just create well plan real quick, just M21. Doesn't really matter for now. I can select the well plan will appear here as an option to slice along. So if you, for example, you have a couple of well plans, you can slice along different well plans, just selecting here, one of them here. And new option, you can not only slice along trajectory well plan or the VS, but also along sticks you just created. If you don't have sticks, it will be just grayed out. You won't see the sticks option here. All right.
Just a few questions, Pavel. I think I answered them though. Rick was asking if there's windows for sticks. I believe the answer is no. Not until you turn it into a target line.
So what's sticks? Window?
Like a window, like above or below the, like similar to target lines, how you can have the drilling corridor. Is there a similar feature for sticks? I believe the answer is no.
For sticks, no, it's quite limited. In this case, basically sticks is like waypoints, and that's it.
Okay.
Like waypoints with an option to add more waypoints or just put it somewhere, but nothing, like not many options to display differently, this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you turn target lines into, when you turn a multi-point target line into a well plan, just to make sure you append it for basically each waypoint on the target line. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, let me just show real quick. Let me just cut it to 10,000 MD. If you just click create, it will ignore all the DLS restrictions. So I created with this kind of target line, multi-point. If I go ahead and without clicking append, click create, you see the well plan follows the, actually. The well plan will just reach the first well point, and that's it. So it won't go ahead because it doesn't know how to properly apply DLS restrictions before I click append. So it's like prerequisite basically for now. I think it's kind of like the first iteration of using the multi-waypoint target line for well planning. Probably going to be a bit easier next releases without clicking append multiple times. But for now, this is the logic. Apply DLS restrictions for each well plan waypoint, and then click append, and control how your well is being, or your well plan is being curved along the target line. And talking about the geosteering view, let's finish working with geosteering view for now. So, where is my favorite well? Today's favorite well is this one. So in the geosteering view, as you remember, by the way, in 24.1, we introduced the so-called custom format, which allowed you to, in the solo projects, when you're working in a correlation panel, you can change colors in correlation panel, change the formatting of all your objects in correlation panel, and it won't affect all other users in this same solo project. Now we have the same feature in geosteering view. So if we go into the window tab and click on the custom formats, I can go ahead and change the color of my gamma ray. Now it's called custom log format tab, by the way. I can change the thickness of this line. I can change the color of the line or everything. I can just customize the formatting of all the objects in my geosteering view. It will not affect others in my organization who is working with the same data, with the same well, just only for me. So if you want just to go back to the, like, let's say, company-wise formatting, you just turn off the custom formats, and now it goes back to the formatting, the original one. And talking about the correlation panel, actually, I think we can talk briefly about a couple of things we have there. And first of all, I want to talk about the apply to all logic. So actually, we changed it a bit. How we changed it? apply to all previously was basically replacing what I'm talking about. Sorry. So you have a well. I have a well with two logs, and porosity and resistivity. If I clicked in 24.1 and click apply to all, this same style would be applied to all my wells in my correlation panel. In this version, we changed logic a bit for this one. We're not replacing the logs, we're adding the logs. What do I mean by that? So if I right click on my well, the first well, and click apply to all, the already existing logs or already displayed logs on my wells, these three wells, remain the same. So the first track, the first log is the same, but we're adding new resistivity log on the second track. And the reason why we don't see any changes in the first track, there is no end porosity log for these three wells. So basically, we're going from replace everything from this parent well to add data from this parent well to the wells in the correlation panel. So this is the change to the apply to all button. For the zones, so this is the apply for all. Couple of things regarding, actually a couple of things. First of all, in the correlation panel, when you're displaying your lateral wells, you can turn on your interpretation. So I can turn on interpretation, start now for now, and I can see all my horizons which we crossed, intersected by these wells. I just quick reminder: the TVT values and the horizons are taken only from your start interpretation. So it's better to basically always turn on the start interpretation to avoid incorrect values. Actually, it won't display it. Anyway, start interpretation, please display start interpretation in the correlation panel. If the well didn't intersect the one of the horizons, it will be grayed out. For example, here you can see the lower Eagle Ford was crossed by the Yoska unit 1H, so it's kind of bright color. And for the first well, it's grayed out, so it's maybe later we'll cross it. So yeah, this is the update. You can display horizons now in correlation panel. And for the tops, so how we're displaying tops, another feature. Now you can fill the area in between tops with color. So for example, if I go to one of the tops, go into the top format, now I have fill option, so I can change it to, actually maybe this one, from orange to, let's say, pink one. Okay, something like that. Talking about top set, in the previous version, we introduced zones, the area in between your tops. It was kind of like the first attempt, not first iteration of these new objects in the StarSteer. And now introduced actually quite powerful thing I can show you. So what we can do right now, I have my tops, I have my zones in between my tops. I now want to calculate something. I will show you 3 examples of what we can calculate and how we can use this information for mapping. So for now, I want to calculate what's the net thickness of my sand per zone. Let me just, by the way, turn on the top set just to make sure. So I have some lithology log. I just created it from just a simple cutoff in my gamma ray. So sand is here, shale is here. And I want to know what's the thickness of my sand based on my calculation. It might be something different and doesn't matter for now. So what should I do? I need to click on the zones here in the group tree. It's only available in the group tree. Go into the attribute operations tab. And now we have only one option, is log to attribute operations. But we have quite a lot of actually averaging operations or calculations, let's say, like average, fraction, median, minimum, maximum, and net thickness. So in this case, we need to use net thickness. and we want to use our discrete log, which is lithology, and I want to use the code 0. 0 is my send. So now I can click create new attribute. It generates some kind of output, so not all my wells have the lithology log. It's fine. I'm going to work with only these 3 or 4 for now. So let's just take a look. So I just click on this well to highlight it. I can open, well, to be honest, I can open the spreadsheet for all my wells, for all my tops, but that's huge. That's huge. So let's keep it simple and open the spreadsheet for my zones with attributes for only one well. So in the top set, I have zones, spreadsheet. Okay, it's much easier to read. Okay, so yeah, in this case, it calculated the net thickness of my send for each zone. And actually, yeah, this is the logic. What's next? What can we do also with the zone logs? Sorry, with zones and logs together. Let's calculate the average ROP per zone in send, for example. I just want to show you all the options we have. Of course, not always the case. You need to use all of them, just to let you know. So how to calculate average ROP? I need to select average MD weighted. I need to select my log, ROP in this case, and need to apply the filter because I want to calculate it inside the send only. So I just select the filter by discrete log. I select my only one, lithology, and I select the code, which is 0, which is my send. And I click create new attribute. Again, a bunch of error messages saying you don't have ROP in all the wells, which is fine. And again, if I open the spreadsheet for my well, I will see a new column called average ROP and the values here per zone. We can use the attributes for mapping from these zones. Let me show you. But I won't use the attributes we just calculated. I will use something else. By default, the StarSteer, when you create zones, it calculates MD thickness and TVD thickness for each zone. And now I want to create an isopack map based on this information. So as you can see, let me just open the zone spreadsheet once again for this well. These columns, TVD thickness for every zone and MD thickness for every zone. It's here by default, automatically calculated for you. So now I want to create a map based on this information. So I can go ahead and right-click on my TVD thickness attributes in my group tree because I want to calculate the map for all my wells. And I click to polygon. I can create the polygon, well, let's say not let's call it points, basically points with values for future mapping. But for now, let's use, I don't know, Lower Eagle Ford to Buddha zone. I select this one. I can select multiple, just to have multiple sets of points. But for now, let's keep it simple. Lower Eagle Ford to Buddha, 75 wells have this zone in there, which is great. I can click create. And now I have this one. This is the attribute from my from this information, from my tops. So I can go into my map view. Let me hide everything for now, because there is one extra step, quite important for the mapping attributes, in particular thickness. So, okay, so I go to the mapping mode. Let's clean everything. So I want to create new map, new grid, and I need to select my created top set. This is TVD thickness between Lower Eagle Ford and Buddha. I drop it here. And next step is quite important. By default, actually, I can show you. So it's going to be quite a visual thing. Let me just create it like by default, something like that. If I go and check the values here or here, 35 to 200, it doesn't look very correct to me, because that maybe must be quite lower. And the reason why I have kind of extreme values is because I'm using the auto algorithm, which basically converge interpolation, which means if we have some kind of trend, the converge interpolation algorithm will continue this trend. So it means sometimes you will get some negative thickness or some weird values in thickness, which was not in the original input data. To avoid that, we need to switch to something else. We need to switch to ABOS algorithm. And ABOS algorithm will not go outside of the limits of the input data. So it won't follow the trend to basically flatten out and keep the minimum maximum based on the input data, which is exactly what we want for a thickness map calculation. So let me just update it. 170, by the way, let's check what's going on there. But overall, you see there's no like a trend going up or going down far away from my data. So this is the ABOS algorithm. We recommended to use it for the isopac mapping here in StarSteer. All right, and a couple of things, two more things I want to show you real quick. First of all, now in Solo project, you can lock the trajectory itself. So if I right-click on my well, I can click lock. Let me just open the spreadsheet. I can, of course, view the spreadsheet, but the header is locked. I cannot change anything. I cannot change my trajectory. I can copy, but I cannot edit it. So the lock functionality for trajectory is there, and for headers is here. And one small thing is now StarSteer remembers in which mode you are in, depending on the view. So for example, I work in, let me just switch something else to well planning here in map view, geosteering mode for the geosteering view. Once I switch it, StarSteer remembers it, so you don't need to switch back and forth when you're switching between two different windows, for example, or for correlation panel. I want to use correlation here, well planning here, and geosteering mode here. Because I switched it once, now StarSteer remembers it, and it will switch back and forth for you, so you don't need to do it manually. And one last thing. Let me just reopen the Solo project. It's going to be very, very useful to understand the size of the project and all that stuff. So let me just close it. I hope it won't open it too fast. Okay, let me just open this one again. This new window will show you with some details how fast do you load the project, how many objects you have, what kind of types of objects, logs, grids, image logs, or whatever. It shows everything to you. So it's going to be easier, well, for you to understand like why this project opens so long. Maybe it's because you're downloading 2 GB grid right now, so it will take some time, or maybe something else. So, but it's very useful thing for just understand the size of the project, approximate size of the project during the opening. Yeah, I think this is it. This is the new features of 24.2. I hope you find it useful and you can apply many of things I showed you today during your daily workflows. Any questions?
Good question, Pavel. Galen is asking if we can create isopacks between two grids. I know we have a Python script for it, but isn't there a workflow we can do that using the ABOS calculation if we have two other grids? Or is it usually just the Python script the best way?
So currently, no. So answer is no in terms of in the general case, we can do it. There's a Python script which actually can subtract one grid from another, but there are so many restrictions on that. You need to have the grids which fits each other like 100%. So if one grid has 10,000 points, the second grid should have the same amount of points. They should be aligned to each other. So it's kind of pretty much never the case, but it's coming. So the first thing was the eraser we added. These things you asked, just subtract one grid from another to get the isopack map. It's coming. I think I'm not remember which exactly version, but it's in the plans. It's like quite soon plans, I would say. So yeah. Between two mapped surfaces grids. Yeah, so we have a Python script which will just if you by the way, if you created the grids in StarSteer using the same input data, not input data, but input like outline, the x, dy sizes, the same rotation. If you use the same thing, the same parameters for the mapping in StarSteer, you can use this Python script to subtract each grid, one grid from another. We can send you the Python, actually, this Python to you if you have these kind of grids.
And then I don't remember if you showed it. Maybe you did, but it's also really cool that we can now do the custom formatting for the GeoString window.
GeoString view. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This one. Yeah.
Yep.
Quick reminder: this is the checkbox.
Yep.
Just to make it. Yeah. You see, actually, it remembers my changed formatting to more bold lines. Oh, perfect. Yeah, if you use the same parameters for the mapping, then you can use the Python script, yes, because they will basically align to each other 100%. Okay, any other questions? Actually, let me send you the link to the StarSteer. Why not? The activation code one. The activation code link 24.2 in the chat. So please download it. Please play with it. Of course, if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it and to see it. If you have something to share with us, it will be very useful for us and for development to maybe prioritize things and to better know how you work with the tools we just developed. So the feedback is highly appreciated. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and for your interest in StarSteer. And have a great